thought I'd take a look at some famous spooky stories from each state, and I'll start with Alabama, mostly because it's first alphabetically, but also my mother was born there and I have spent a good bit of time in the state. Alabama is known for a lot of things: beautiful wilderness, rockets, rednecks, and obnoxious college sports fans, to name a few. It's also in the foothills of the Appalachian, so it has roots in that folklore. Today I have 3 stories from the Yellowhammer State, so go get your current project and I'll tell you about them. Have you ever seen something that did an immediate hard refresh of your brain? That's what happened when I saw the sketch of the Wolfwoman of Mobile. It was drawn by an unnamed staff artist for the Mobile Register, and whoever they were, they did not have to go that hard. What is the Wolfwoman of Mobile, you ask? Exactly what she sounds like, but oh so much more. On April 1st, 1971, the Mobile Press-Register newspaper was inundated with calls about a creature prowling the Plateau neighborhood and Davis Avenue. Over the course of the next week, they received over 50 calls. On April 8th, they published an article titled, "But Would You Believe?" with 3 question marks. It was detailing the events from those calls. They were all freaked out by what was consistently described as a creature with a body that was wolf on the bottom half and a pretty human female on the top half. She was repeatedly described as pretty and hairy. Pretty. I can't get past that part. She was running around on all 4s and covered in hair, but they said she was pretty. She also seemed to be genuinely frightening to some residents, especially the children. Many of them reported a fear of being outside at night because of the creature. The article quoted several residents of the area. One teenage girl said, "My daddy seen it down in the marsh and it chased him home. Now my mommy keeps all the doors and windows locked." Someone else said, "The top half was a woman, the bottom half was a wolf. It doesn't seem natural." You think? It was reported to the police department, but they declined to comment on the issue. They did increase patrols in the area for a time, but didn't seem to take it seriously. Mobile is no stranger to creature sightings either. In the late 1930s, there was the monster of Fisher's Alley, described as 6 feet long with thick black fur, terrorizing the neighborhood. In the early 2000s, a leprechaun hung out in a specific tree in the Crichton area, but those are both stories for another episode. So what was it? Some suggested a werewolf or some other unnamed kind of cryptid. Some say an April Fool's joke that just got out of hand. The suggestion for that is someone put a wig on a German Shepherd or let an Afghan hound loose in the neighborhood. I'm not buying it. No way someone is mistaking a dog in a wig for having a pretty human face. I can believe that once the story got around, someone tried that by putting a wig on a dog, but not that that's the original sighting. I'm not sure what I believe happened back then. I don't think it was a dog in a wig, but a pretty human-headed dog is not believable either. For the most part, this gets chalked up to our good old friend mass hysteria, mass psychogenic illness these days. And usually I scoff at that one, but I don't know what else to lean on with this story. Imagine you're a truck driver on an overnight route to deliver a load. It's dark, it's raining, and you're on a 2-lane state highway. Alabama Highway 5 to be specific. You're on a long stretch of rural highway with nothing on the horizon. It's so far in the middle of nowhere that there aren't even any streetlights to guide your way. You have the radio blasting coast to coast AM with Art Bell to hear it over the driving rain on the roof of the truck, and you are on your 3rd cup of coffee trying to stay awake. Out of nowhere, there's a loud banging on your driver's side door. Your first thought is that a deer has sideswiped your truck, but you see something out of the corner of your eye. You take a quick look, then do a double take, because that can't be what you think it is. There is no possible way there is a girl hanging on your truck's door. But you look back, and it is for sure a girl. She is pounding on the window furiously, but when you look her in the eyes, she vanishes. That is what the legend of the Highway 5 Ghost Girl says has happened to countless truckers on this stretch of road between Lynn and Jasper, Alabama. As I said, my mom was born in Alabama, and we still have family that live there. I remember hearing this story from my Alabama cousins when I would come for a visit. I've been on that stretch of road going from Carbon Hill to Jasper. Mom always took us to the pizza bar, aka Lacey's, in Carbon Hill to get a ham and cheese sandwich before going to the cemetery in Jasper to clean family plots. I don't recall seeing anything, but we were never in a big rig, and it was always during a sunny day. The legend says that sometime in the past, a girl died in a hit and run on that stretch of road. There is no concrete timeline, but it can't have been any earlier than the 1950s. As the story goes, a girl and her boyfriend were on their way home from prom on a rainy night. They were driving down Highway 5 when they started arguing about something. He pulled over onto the side of the road and the girl got out to walk home. She refused to get back into the car, so he left her there. When she didn't return home, her parents went to the boy and demanded to know what happened. He explained that she got out and told them where he left her. They went to that spot and started looking. Before long, they found her body on the side of the road, mangled from being struck by a vehicle. Sometime after that, truckers started reporting the scenario I laid out for you happening to them. She's assaulting big rig trucks looking for her murderer. There was a Jane Doe found on the side of the Highway 5 in the early 80s near Carbon Hill. She was badly decomposed when she was found, and she was buried in that cemetery I visited so many times. The residents of Walker County came together and gave her a proper burial, and many of them attended her funeral. Recently, her remains were exhumed to perform DNA testing to try to identify her. According to NamUs, she was a young white woman in her 20s to 30s. She was approximately 5 feet 4 inches tall and weighed 114 pounds. She had a small heart tattoo on her upper right back with the name Brandy and the date January 18th, 1980 written in it. That does not sound like our ghost girl, though. She was supposedly a teenager wearing a prom dress and was identified by her parents. Or was she? There's no documented death that matches the story. Also, the scenario that I laid out for you would surely have caused at least a handful of accidents, but that stretch of road is not known for its hazards. The legend does say that truckers avoid that stretch of road because of the ghost. It's more likely that they avoid that stretch of road because it has 2 lanes with no shoulder and poor visibility at night, and there's no real reason for them to be there. There's not much that they would be delivering to on that road. This is not the sort of true story that requires proof to pass it around, though. It's an urban legend with the architecture of a vanishing hitchhiker story. Much like Resurrection Mary from Chicago, it's a story about a girl that dies tragically in a roadside accident, but refuses to be forgotten. It's a morality tale designed to warn drivers to be on their guard and pay attention. My wife drove a truck for many years before we met. I grilled her for a long while before writing this. One of the things that sticks with me is that the job is extremely isolating and stressful. This story is designed to prey on that anxiety. In the end, the ghost girl may have never existed, but she refuses to be forgotten. For a short time in 1989, a small town in North Alabama became the UFO capital of the world, but it didn't take long for it to become the butt of the joke. Fyffe, Alabama is located on top of Sand Mountain in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. It's a tight-knit community where everyone knows and trusts their neighbor. The local high school sports teams are known throughout the state, winning multiple state championships. In other words, it's a typical southern town. On February 10th, Donna Saylor was driving home with a friend when they saw a light hovering over the mountain. At first, they thought it was headlights, but they quickly realized that it was not moving. They stopped the car to make sure that the motion of the vehicle was not causing the illusion that the object was still. But even with the car at a complete stop, the object remained stationary. It disappeared after about 10 seconds from when they stopped the vehicle. Later, they observed another object for a long while, just hovering over the mountain, and phoned in a report to the Fyffe Police Department. Assistant Police Chief Fred Works took the call, and with Chief Charles Jr. Garmany driving, they went south along Highway 67 toward the Kelly's Chapel area where the report came from. They spotted the object as they were driving south, so Garmany pulled over on the side of the road. Works asked him to cut the engine of the car to hear the craft. They found that the object was silent. Works radioed other nearby departments to ask if they also saw the object. Officers in Crossville and Geraldine, as well as a highway patrol officer, confirmed that they saw the object too. They continued on to take the report from Donna Saylor. Over the next few weeks, hundreds of reports came into the police department and local newspapers. Descriptions of the object varied from a triangle shape covered in lights to orbs of light. Works and Garmany described it as triangular with lights along the bottom shining up towards the craft as if to illuminate it. Donna Saylor would later regret her description of the object. She said it was shaped like a banana and covered in red, green, and white lights. That description took off and was used as fodder to mock the town relentlessly. She did not mean that the object literally looked like a banana. She meant it was curved like a banana. The crescent shape has been used to describe so many UFO sightings over the years that it has become cliche, but heaven forbid you describe a curved half circle any other way. Susan Stockman and Terry Baker of the Weekly Post in Rainsville, Alabama, saw the object on a trip to Fyffe. Terry was a photographer for the paper and got a handful of photos from the object. They're not clear, defined shots, but they do show a lighted object making its way across the sky at dusk. People from all over the southeast flocked to the town every Friday night for weeks, trying to catch a glimpse of the objects. In a very different version of Friday Night Lights, the town was overrun by UFO hunters and curiosity seekers. It does not take a lot to create a traffic jam in a town that's only 4.5 square miles. The locals were quickly fed up with the weekly invasion. Shortly after the first sightings were reported, it gained national media attention. Inside Edition sent a reporter to do a segment, and the locals welcomed them with traditional Southern hospitality. That respect was not returned to them. The segment, introduced by Bill O'Reilly with the line, "We sent Jeff Cole down there to see if E.T. has a Southern accent," lasted about 5 minutes and portrayed the residents of Fyffe as dumb hicks. They had Works and Garmany reenact their movements the night of the first sighting. They filmed them getting into their cruiser and driving away with their blue lights on, but in the segment, they sped the footage up and paired it with silly music to make them look comical. Between the local newspapers and police departments, they answered calls from all over the world. The Daily Star in the UK had a particularly ridiculous article. My understanding of the Daily Star is that it's a tabloid similar to the National Enquirer here in the US. They ran an article that claimed that hundreds of witnesses in Fyffe saw a golden space banana hover above the town, and Liberace came floating out to give a concert on a crystal piano. I am barely old enough to remember Liberace. He died when I was 6, but for any youngins watching, he was a performer known for his flamboyant personality and metric ton of rhinestones. His clothes were made of gold lame and bedazzled to the moon and back. Even his piano was covered in mirrored tiles, rhinestones, and crystals. He was not a person that subscribed to the less is more philosophy. It wasn't just the outside media that was cruel. A reporter out of a Huntsville TV affiliate held up a banana with Christmas lights smashed into it, claiming that it was a replica of the objects that the locals had seen. A college newspaper reporter claimed to have gone to Fyffe during one of those Friday night gatherings and said the only unidentified object in Fyffe was a brain. And then he told a ridiculous story about dropping a bar of soap on the ground and the locals thinking that it was the UFO. A PSA produced to discourage teenage drinking and driving even used Fyffe as a comedic device. The PSA starts off with a chief of police taking a call about a UFO sighting, but he dismisses it, saying he wants to focus on the teen drunk driving epidemic. Then a group of teens are seen getting a 6-pack of beer from an older person at a convenience store and driving away as the store owner calls the police. The kids think that they're busted when they see blue lights in their mirror, but then the lights lift up and above the car, and using spectacular late 80s special effects, a laser slashes an anti-drinking message into a billboard, abducts their beer, and buckles their seatbelts. Then the UFO does a flyby over the local recycling plant and drops off the empties, which implies that the pilot drank the beer. The last scene is back at the PD where the chief says, "This might be Fyffe, but my name is not Barney." After that, the Fyffe residents were not as welcoming to the media. They had to prove that they were not there for nefarious reasons before they got any cooperation from locals and witnesses. Carrie Baker, the editor of the Weekly Post, said that the residents were not affected by the UFOs, but they were affected by the ridiculous media coverage portraying them all as backwards hillbillies. In regards to the Inside Edition segment, Donna Saylor was quoted as saying, "I was really put out. I gave those people 4 hours of my time and it was wasted." Other locals stood by the witnesses. In a letter to the editor, one resident defended Works and Garmony, saying, "If they tell you that a rooster chews tobacco, you can raise up its left wing and look for its spit cup," which is probably the most southern thing I have ever read. Between the perception that rural and especially southern rural folks are uneducated hicks and the idea that anyone claiming to witness a UFO is a crackpot, this was almost a perfect storm of ridicule. These days, the UFO issue is not a thing anymore. The current administration rolls out a congressional hearing of alien disclosures anytime there's an issue that they want to distract from. The perception of rural southern people is getting better as well. If these sightings happened today, they wouldn't be as big a joke as they were back then. These days, the sightings in Fyffe have slowed down, but they have embraced their title as UFO Capital of Alabama. They host an annual UFO festival. UFO stands for Unforgettable Family Outing. It's everything you would expect from a small town southern festival, with games, musical performances, and all of the fried foods you could want. The coolest thing of all is they have hot air balloon flights, which I have to say, I've been to a lot of small town festivals in my day, in towns a lot larger than Fyffe, and have seen nary a hot air balloon. Come back next time and I'll ask you one question. You want to hear something spooky?